Good morning. So welcome back to Chaos Farm. As you can see, we have the dogs out and around, and we're having a bit of a relaxed day today. So I'm going to take you around and show you the general routine that we do of a morning. So because it's just me today, it's going to be me doing all of it, which is fine. It goes quite quickly and it's quite nice actually when it's quiet. That isn't to say that we don't appreciate everybody that comes, because actually the people that come make the farm, and they are just the most amazing, wonderful, genuine people. So what we're going to do first off this morning is we are going to start the watering, because as you can tell the sun is coming up, so we want to get the watering done first. So I've just got to locate the hose because it's quite a long hose. I think at the moment it's in here filling up. So what we do, because we've got our own spring water system, then there it is. Ugh, it's a bit green, but we have to locate it, and because we've got our own spring water system, we actually fill up all of the water bowsers with our own water. So all of the plants get given our own spring water. So I think we've got something like 52 springs over the farm. So we're going to go this way and find the hose or the actual other attachment. And there's going to be a little bit of gymnastics for Alex, our cameraman, because he's going to have to walk backwards, then climb over a fence. So I'm trying to bring the hose with me. And at this point, Boris doesn't really like to go any further. So we'll climb over all the time, trying not to waste any water. So at the moment, you can see we've got the ponies in this side. I have already checked them. They've had their water and they've been checked. And they are in that side because of the fact that we've got a lot of grass there from where the chickens used to be. As you can see, the old chicken house is still there. And we just needed to be able to get to everything really. So we've kind of got that compost right at the very back corner, which is just kind of mellowing away quite nicely. And then the ponies are eating all of this lot off so that we can actually do something with the land. So let's make sure I don't squish any of the veggies this side. Now we'll see if this really works. Because I'm never ever able to get all this sorted properly. So let's see. So it's been in there over the weekend. So it's got a little bit green on the end. So I'll just disconnect this one, and I'm hoping this is the right attachment, but I don't think it is. No, it's most definitely not. So this is actually the typical farm. So what we'll find is there's always different attachments for everything, and generally speaking, they get taken off, like I've just taken that one off, and they get put in someone's pocket. They go home for the weekend and we don't have them then. So what we're going to do is we're going to improvise. We're going to do it a little bit differently, and we need to go down to this patch down here. So these are the seedlings that we planted last week. So I'm going to bring the hose with us, being careful of the pumpkins, because we obviously don't want to squash the pumpkins. So what we want to do is we want to try to water not all of this, because some of it, as you can see, is a bit bigger, and there's caterpillars on here. So we have been blighted quite a lot by caterpillars, as you can see, all of these kind of munchy holes. And what we're doing at the moment is we're actually trying to find them. So as I'm looking, I'm kind of looking over and just seeing if there's any caterpillars there. If there is, I'm afraid I take them off and I squish them, because they're just no good for our crop growth. There's not actually that many here, but you can see it's supposed to have a lovely, lovely little heart here, like this one, but it's been munched. So it's not actually as good quality as we would like. So it's not kind of as perfect as you'd like, and we can't really even say it's wonky veg. So this is a lovely one. As you can see, it's just starting to heart up. You can see there's like a little piece in the middle, which we call the heart. Just going to set this one in here to run a minute. Put that there so I don't put it in my pocket and forget about it. So this one's got a nice little heart. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it's one of our cabbages. So I think it might be one of the Chinese cabbages, but you can see here it's just started to kind of bundle together. The outer leaves have got a bit of caterpillar growth, but not the inner ones, which is what we want. So that's a really good one to send off. So that will go to either the, oh look, here we go. See all these caterpillars? So this one will probably go off to the larder. But what I'm going to do is, because the caterpillars are both sides of the leaf, and obviously we don't really want them, so you can see them all there. It's lovely to see them on this side as well, but they're going to eat all of our cabbages. So sorry. I know that sounds seems very, very harsh, but if we don't do that, then actually we'll be inundated. And this is just a few that we've got. You can see just down here, we've got a lot more greens, and all of those will actually be inundated. So if we don't get them at an early stage, our crop will basically be decimated. And because we don't use any pesticides or anything like that, just checking, then we don't really have much other choice other than to physically check them and do a little bit of squashing, I'm afraid. So apologies if you don't like that side, but unfortunately it is the farm life, and it's not easy, it's not always nice, but it is what it is. So what we've got here, I think these are the beetroots. I think, as I say, I'm not a gardener. I've always said I'm not a gardener, but what we do is, as we're watering, so because it's been quite dry, I'm giving them a real drowning, so they've got plenty of moisture in here. And what I'm doing as I'm doing it is I'm actually taking out the weeds. So not all of them, but just the ones beside, trying to be very, very careful. So I'll pop it over that side, and I'm going to go this side because there's a few this side. So what we want to do is, if we get the weeds at an early stage, we just can pull them out, and there's no worry for the plant as well. So as we're doing it, it's just multitasking really. What I will show you in a minute is where we've actually had some compost in a trailer which has had some corn in. So you can see that the lettuce has started to grow up, and as has the corn. So we have kind of hoed it, we've weeded it, we've plucked it out just like I'm doing here. But because corn grows a lot quicker than the lettuce, then we last did it on Friday. It's now Monday, and you can see the effect of kind of the speed and growth. So this here is probably a grass, but I will show you the corn in just a moment. Pop that one over there. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to wet the actual plant on the leaves itself, because that can actually damage it. So just making sure that the soil around it's got plenty of moisture. What I might do is actually bring it over this side a bit more, trying not to get the plants, just so that we can actually make sure that each and every plant is really, really got a good drink, because when they're quite small, the roots aren't as large as a bigger plant. So something like this is going to have roots probably a similar size to what you can see on top of the ground. And likewise, these are going to have similar size to what you can see on top of the ground as well. So you can imagine the roots aren't going to go very deep. So they need all the moisture they can get really, because they're not going to be able to go down below this top layer and get any more moisture. So I've got a fly bothering me at the minute. Okay, so that all looks pretty good. So what we'll do is we'll move over this way. So if we scan across here, you can see there's quite a lot of leafy looking things. So these are obviously the lettuce. This is what we want. This is the corn. So this is what we don't really want. And unfortunately it's all snapping off, so that's not ideal. What we want is we want to try and get the whole thing, but they're all snapping off, so they will grow back again, these ones, which is unfortunate. Yeah, they are snapping off, but as you can see, the lettuce is growing quite a lot slower than these. So all of these are growing up quite a lot more. So what we need to do is I can kind of just pull them out like this, and as you can see, they're just breaking off, so they're not actually bringing the like the seed out. So they're going to grow again. So what we need to do is we need to probably just break that off and then go with a hoe between, and then that'll lift all the seed. So the hoe is basically a flat tool. It's kind of that kind of shape, like a kind of a horseshoe with a flat piece. And there's a couple of different types. There's a push hoe and a pull hoe. And what we want is either or really, and it just kind of just shuffles underneath like this, and it breaks up all of the corn, and it lifts the seed as well. So actually what we can see here, I think that might be a pea. So we did have peas in here before, so there's obviously a pea dropped. I think we're going to leave that one because then he might grow some more peas. So what I'm doing is just literally coming between. Usually we have the hose attachment which has got like a gun type of lance on it. And we can actually get really focused to each of the plants. But as I say, the adaptation has probably gone home with somebody in their pocket. So I've left this one on the bed. So what we're going to do is just going to keep letting this all drink. And as that's doing that, I'm just going to keep pulling out. So I know it's not overly interesting watching, but actually, haha, there we go. That's what I wanted. So what I was trying to do is actually find this. So this is actually the corn. And you can see now I've got the whole root and the shoot. So that's what we want, rather than when they just come out like that. So it's actually breaking off. So you can see the seed is always going to grow again. So we want to get it so we've got the root and the shoot. Then it can go out into the grass part of the field. So this is kind of what we do of a morning. So it is literally just kind of tending everything, making sure that there's no competition for the lettuces or the various different plants. Because obviously if there's competition, then it's not going to grow as well. If it doesn't grow as well, then we don't have as much to harvest and enough to pass to other people, really. So none of these are coming out with there it is, another one is. So the occasional few are, but not that many. So it is what it is, really. We just get as much out as we can, making sure that I keep moving this across. But as you can see, it makes it harder when you can't really see the clear ground to be able to water everything. So some of these have had a bit of kind of, I don't know quite what that is. I don't know if it's caterpillar or what, but it's obviously had a bit of a munch. So rather than being a healthy one like this, it's actually looking a little bit not so healthy. So it doesn't look quite as good, bless him. So what we want to do is just keep going through each of these, and what I'll focus on doing is just taking the corn away from the actual plant. So although we're going to have plenty in the middle, if it's not right close to the plant, it's not the end of the world for today. We've even got a thistle or dandelion of some sort there. So it is just taking all these bits out. So usually on a kind of an average day, we'd have a bit more than me here. So what we would do is generally I would go around and I'd do all the animals. So I'd go and check them, check that they're all in the fields where they're supposed to be, check their health, things that we've kind of talked about previously before on Chaos TV. Today, as there is only me, then it's all kind of a little bit slower, but that's all good because actually it's quite nice. You can hear everything just chatting away, the birds, the chickens, the turkeys. It's just a little bit slower pace. Just make sure I've watered all of them. So what I'm trying to do is when I'm doing it, I'm putting I am putting all the weed into this middle part, which isn't ideal, but what we do every whip and flip is we actually go through with a hoe and we actually clear all of this. These flowers here, so all of the helichrysums and the what they call fried egg plants, they are actually at the moment still growing, but we're soon going to be kind of taking them up as well. So once we take all this up, then we'll actually get the tractor down this side and we'll turn it over again, so that we can then reuse it another time. So I'm just going to pop that on there, move the hose. So what I'm trying to do is not go in amongst all the flowers that we've already got. So there's a few spaces where we've harvested some of the helichrysums because they're really good to dry. So these are the a type of helichrysum. I pick one. Hey, the bumble. As you can see, there's lots of bumblebees still on them. So they're really, really beautiful flowers. So we're hoping, we've cut them all and we're hoping that they're actually going to dry. They're in the barn so that then we can use them for our creative groups that we have, or for anything else really. They don't have a huge smell, but they do look quite pretty. So I'll pop that one back in there. Not that he's going to grow again, but he's just in there then. So I'll just focus along this side. So I'll make sure that I'm doing both sides, because obviously if we do one side and not the other, then one side is going to grow and harvest well and the other side isn't. So it's just keeping that kind of balance right the way through. So down this end you see there's a little bit more kind of space. So these were obviously hoed a little bit better than these ones, if you like. So there's more space between with less kind of corn. So I know that when I was doing this on Friday, I was really, really focused on here and I was pulling a lot out. Whereas by the time I got to this side, I did both sides. I got to this end bit and I obviously didn't do it quite as well. I obviously got tired, or there was something a little bit different with my process. So it's quite interesting to see that actually it does make a difference what you do and how you do it. Turkeys are just chattering away. Duck, 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 duck. Okay. So what we might do is we might just leave this running here a little bit, and we might go and just see the turkeys. We'll go and check the chickens and turkeys. So they've actually had a very quiet weekend as well. Usually they have people here, and not over the weekends, but we have people here, or my children come and we collect all the eggs. But this weekend we've actually not, we've left the eggs for them. So we've checked that they've had food and water. But Monday is usually a day that we do a full clean out. We clean out their food, or we top up their food, so we wash out their water. So that's something we can do in a minute. But we might just finish this bed and then we'll have a little bit of a break and come back to the studio and see you guys in the studio for a song or two. So welcome back. So we're now going to go and check the chickens out, give them a bit of food and water. And what we're going to do is actually just clean them out, because each Monday and Friday what we do is we make it a routine. I'll come on to this bit and it's less bumpy. We make it part of the routine that we actually clean the chickens, turkeys, quails. We clean them out fully every Monday and Friday, so that then we make sure that they're nice and healthy. We keep an eye on them. So they obviously get checked daily, but when we're doing this, we actually manage to have like a real good check over them. We clean them out. We make sure that if there's any kind of pest or disease or anything like that, that we can get on top of it quite quickly. So we're going to come into these ones. As you can see, they're all waiting for their breakfast. Hey, chickies. So what we've got here, sorry if there's any vegetarians or vegans, got some caterpillars on the leaf that we one of them that I've just picked off the broccolis a minute ago. Hey, chickens. These guys have never actually seen caterpillars, so I don't know what they're going to do. They're all looking. Put it down there. I think as soon as they start moving, they'll realise, but they're not quite sure at the minute. They're going to go for my laces instead. Hey, chicks. They're not actually sure. So chickens are actually omnivores, which means that they can eat meat and veggies. I have seen, well, in the bigger enclosure, Henny, one of the oldest chickens, when a mouse got into the hutch or the house, she actually pecked the mouse and killed it. And then 3 of them actually, literally it was disgusting, they kind of all tore it apart. So they can be quite vicious when there's actually something as a threat. Oops, as a threat really. Hey, chicks. So they obviously don't know what these are. Oh, one little peck. So as we can tell, their water is near enough gone. So we can just empty that out. And I'm going to pop that one outside. Boys, go back, bud. Outside, so that we know that we can clean that one up in a minute. I'm going to move the food inside. And then this one, so this has got the shovel, which we're going to do the scraping, and it's got a lot of clean straw. So we're going to come in. Hey, chickies. You put that there. Oh, and as you can see, Boris is totally not worried about the chickens at all. He's helping himself to come in. Stay there, Boo. I don't know that he's actually bad with chickens, but I don't know that he's good with chickens, so you can stay outside for a minute, mate. Come on, girls and boys. So what we're going to do is down here, they've actually got their feeder, so it's broken on one side. And what we're going to do is just check that it's kind of tight on these ones, which that one's not very tight. That's all right. And then going to pour it in. So they've got in this, they've got kind of a mix. This is a fancy pellet one. So they've got some sunflower seeds, they've got some maize, they've got some corn, and they've just got some kind of processed pellets, as well as these bits, which are oh, what's it called? Rolled corn. Oh, and also the odd sweet corn. So, and a bit of straw. So what we'll do is make sure there's plenty in there. And we'll put the lid on, because the pellets, so these little bits, when they get wet, they go all slushy. So we want to make sure that it's all kind of covered up. There, chicks. So they're just going to eat their breakfast now. So whilst they're eating their breakfast, it keeps them out of their house. So this house is probably one of our best houses in some ways, because it's actually got a sunroof. So the sunroof is fantastic because we can actually get into it and it cools it down quite a lot for them. In terms of cleaning, it's a pain in the bum. So what you can see, oh, this is exciting. We've got our first egg. This is our first egg from these chicks. So these were actually born in April. Oh, so that's really exciting. That's their first egg, first ever egg. Thank you, girls and guys. So usually a chicken egg is about that kind of size, so it's quite a small egg. But that's very, very exciting. So I'm going to put that one in there. I don't think we've got any more. No, so we've not got any more. But in terms of cleaning out, you can see there's some kind of, well, down in this corner where the egg was, just down there, there's like a little bit of a nest with all this around. But you can see there's poops in there and there's all sorts of different things. So what we want to do is we want to just be able to kind of clean it out and make sure it's nice and fresh. By doing this, we make sure that we get rid of all the kind of well, not all of it, but we get rid of the majority of the bacteria. We keep it fresh for them. So they've got their little roost at the back, and they've also got their ground cover. So all I'm doing is just scraping up everything. So ideally, I want a little brush, but I haven't got a little brush, so I'm scraping it. So what you can see is, if you look in now, you can see it's a little bit empty and I've got all the dirty stuff to one side. So there is still bits and pieces in there, but the majority of the dirt and muck is kind of on one side. So what I'm going to do is just going to bring that out through the door here by my feet. And whilst we're doing this, we can actually see how much dust is in here. So there's not that much dust, which is quite good in some ways. These chickens are coming up to their first molt. So that means that their first, kind of their first loss of feathers, if you like. So we do want to keep an eye on them, because often when they first lose their feathers, that's when they're starting to get to sexual maturity. So the fact we've got an egg, that means they're kind of nearly at the breeding stage. We know that one of these two roosters, I think it's this one here, that's just walking away, has actually been chasing the rooster that's back behind us. So we know they're starting to kind of get to the point they're wanting to fight, which is not ideal. And as you can see, he looks a little bit gangly and kind of, they're in that kind of teenage stage, I guess you could say. So they have a lot of different arguments, and the one that's over there walking around behind, he's most definitely the boss. You can see his plumage is a lot bigger and brighter and bolder. He's quite a lot more confident. He was actually the one that, when I held picked the food up, sorry, he went to peck my finger. So he's definitely the more confident of the three roosters. And that one, because you can just tell with his kind of his chest feathers, they're a little bit kind of, I don't know, he just looks a bit mottly. He's got a few grey flecks rather than all that kind of beautiful orangey, reddy kind of colour. Those kind of flecks are where he's obviously had feathers pulled out. because they're starting to fight, and you can see his tail isn't quite as round and as voluminous perhaps as it could be. So what we will be doing is just keeping an eye on those two and the third rooster, and most probably 2 of the 3 will be going for the dinner plate. So again, just like the caterpillars, it's not necessarily kind of the best thing to do, but actually compared to them fighting, and they will fight to the death, it's a lot nicer. And unless anybody wants to rehome some roosters, which very rarely they do, then it's the best thing. We know that the chickens have been raised with love. They've always had kind of a lot of care, and as you can see, they're not worried about us at all. So we know that they've had a good life whilst they're here. And actually that is the farm cycle, that is kind of farming. I have to say I am veggie, and I don't have anything to do with it, just because I couldn't do it. So I believe that if I couldn't do it, then I won't eat it. So yeah, I mean, it is the farm cycle, and it is the life of being on the farm, really, isn't it? So it's part and parcel of that food cycle. So what I'm doing now is just putting some more straw in here and just making sure, I can't reach the back corner, but making sure that there's quite a lot in there. So you can have a little look, and it's quite nice and fluffy in there now. So they've got a good bed. And they've got this bit back here, which is their roost. So what they do is they actually roost on here. So they'll sit on here and they'll poop down here. Or some of the hens will actually roost in the ground. Because it's quite a hot day, or I think it's going to be, it's clear skies, we're going to leave the sunroof open, and we're going to leave it at that, because then they can come in and out. They get a bit of shelter, but they've still got that breeze coming through. So with our one little teeny weeny egg, we're going to pop it in the bucket, and I'm going to pick this stuff up. So all of this, it's pretty dry really. Chickens don't generally have wet poos. It's quite dry, so I'm gonna go back, Roosty. Chuck it in there so we know that's dirty. And then we've got the bucket here, the red bucket that's still clean. So we're gonna take that one out. And we'll put that in there just for ease of carrying. So what we need to do is I will just shut the door a minute, and fill this one up. As you can see, it's actually quite clean. So there is a little bit of kind of green around here. This kind of green, that's just some algae that's grown kind of since Friday. So all we'll do is just take it up to the water thing, and en route get a good handful of grass. So there's not that much water in here now actually, so I might have to dip down. But it's just, what we do is we make sure that these are usually filled with water. At the moment they're not full, so I will be filling them today. And we just give it a bit of a clean out. So it's just to make sure that it's clean, there's no kind of greeny algae bits in here, because obviously that'll make the water taste. I don't know if chickens can taste, but I think it's nicer if it's cleaner really. So what we generally do is we do actually do this with a brush, but because I've forgotten the brush, I am improvising and making sure that it's actually clean. So you can see that it's still clean. There's a few little bits here which are not coming off quite as well, which will probably be better with a brush. There we go. What we do then is just rinse it off. There we go. So all nice and clean. So I can reach in, fill it up, make sure there's not so much grass in there, because the grass will block it up. And then it goes back into the house, and then that's nearly one done. Well, that is one done then. Then we've just got another 6 to do. So this is the difficult part, because you have to balance it whilst the water's moving and not spill it. There we go, just make sure it's coming out. Boo, stay. Boo, out. There we go. So they're now all done. Good boy, go back. So they're all done. So I'll close them up. Sorted. So what I'll do is I will say bye-bye for this week and let you guys go back to the studio and have a few songs and do other things. And I'm going to go through all the rest of them and do exactly the same for every single other one. So catch you next time.